Hi, everyone, and welcome inside Mountain America Stadium for the Devil Source Postgame Show following ASU's 28-23 win over the BYU Cougars. I'm Gabby Chernoff. He's Chris Cartman, and this marks the first time ASU has beat a ranked opponent as a ranked team since 2014. First time undefeated at home since 2004, and those Big 12 championship hopes are thriving. They're alive and well. They're even strengthened. But before we get to all of that, that was a crazy ending to this game, Chris. What did you make of all of that?
Never say that you've seen it all or think that you've seen it all, because you haven't, and new things will happen, and that was one of them. Fans storming the field, thinking the game is over. I thought the game was over. The game wasn't over. Look, when Javen Robinson had that interception and then ASU had the ball deep into the BYU territory and there's a minute and something left on the clock, I'm thinking, okay, this is over. Instead of ASU pressing to try to score to go up 2 possessions with a minute or whatever left, ended up going backwards quite a lot. Dillingham talked about a lot of what he said, evidence that supports their strategy, that a plays take 6 or 7 seconds. They'd be able to throw the ball, expire the clock. Instead, they didn't. And then BYU had a Hail Mary opportunity. They had to clear all of the fans who had celebrated, I would say 1,000 or more fans on the sidelines. And then the Hail Mary just comes up a little bit short. Way too close for comfort for ASU. I know a lot of fans feel like that was a mismanaged situation at the end. I also believe that. Dillingham didn't go there. He didn't want to say that, at least at this point in time. You got Cam Scadaboo, either just run it and accept going up 2 scores if you can, or turning the ball over on downs deep in their territory, or maybe even Sam Levitt running backward, taking a safety, something along those lines. It's not that I'm saying that I agree that the clock didn't expire. I think it's hard to say. The ball went so far out of bounds that I'm not sure that they could really actually tell whether there was remaining time on the clock or not. But you can't, in any scenario, allow BYU to have one more play with the ball at midfield in that situation. ASU allowed that to happen, regardless of whatever Dillingham thought about the officiating, which you got some great footage of, and people should go check out your Twitter account there. But yeah, that was wild and bizarre, and yet ASU won the game and is 9-2, which is also wild and bizarre.
Very much wild and bizarre, but let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. First half of this game, very similar story to what happened last weekend at Kansas State. Big lead going into the half. It was 21-3 today, 21-0 last weekend in Manhattan. Cam Scadaboo, all 3 touchdowns, all the points for ASU in that first half. Why did that first half go so well for the Sun Devils?
They dominated at the point of attack. They won the trench battle on both sides very easily. Scadaboo was running all over the place. First drive alone, I think he had 7 carries for 40-something yards. Then Prince Dorba, Clayton Smith, ASU's defensive players came out really with their hair on fire, and they played a really great first half. Scadaboo signed the football after his 3rd touchdown. Probably not a smart thing to do. He admitted it as much in the post game. Dillingham was shaking his head in frustration. That created a situation in which BYU got a shorter field after that, and then kicked a field goal before the end of the first half, which made it 21-3. Those 3 points ended up being very important as this game unfolded the rest of the way. I'm sure that he would have rather not done that, Scadaboo. It ended up not being the difference in the game, though.
And then in that second half, a completely different story of its own. Jake Retzlaff, BYU's quarterback, got into a really good rhythm. His passing game was pretty on point. BYU really able to kind of narrow that lead. ASU had a 4th down in the red zone. They were unable to convert on that. It was a 4th and 1. Why did BYU make things so tight in that second half?
I really felt like BYU got some momentum before the half, moving the ball down for that field goal. Came out, ASU probably played a little bit too conservative defensively, which was a factor. Retzlaff obviously got into a really good rhythm, and ASU wasn't able to have as much of an impact with its pass rush capability. And then, as you said, in addition to them picking up a lot of bigger gains and chunk plays, moving the ball down the field, you had some ASU decided to go for it, could have kicked the field goal. That would have been a time to do that, but then again, it's like you have Cam Scadaboo. The problem was that I'm pretty confident that he went the wrong way on that play. Sam Levitt turned one way and Scadaboo went the other way. Levitt tried to go run for it, wasn't able to pick it up. He seemed frustrated with Scadaboo after that, said some stuff on the TV broadcast. They had one earlier in the game on the other side of the field that was in the red zone that they went for a 4th and goal on the 4 or something like that. That one I really think that they probably should have kicked a field goal to maintain that 3-score lead, the 3-touchdown advantage. Again, that ended up not doing them in. But those two things, coupled with BYU's ability to get going in the passing game and some busts on the back end of ASU's defense after a stellar first half, made the game a lot tighter than fans kind of wanted it to be.
Definitely a nail biter there at the end, but Javen Robinson picked up what should have been the game sealing interception, but kind of a lot of happenings down on the field after that did happen. There's been some talk about whether ASU managed that poorly or well. What did you make of that?
Yeah, before that, ASU and BYU entered this game tied atop the Big 12 lead in turnovers. And Sam Levitt had a ball that was tipped and intercepted. Retzloff had an earlier interception. Then the Javen Robinson play, I said ASU needs somebody to step up defensively and make a big play. I think that was a miscommunication on the route. Ball was thrown right to him. The game should have been over at that point. It's very surprising that it didn't, with the time and the timeout situation being what it was. Dillingham was furious with the officiating, and I think a lot of fans were just beside themselves that this thing was even still in doubt at that point in time. And I'm going to have to go watch it again. The truth, Gabby, is that when the fans mob the field and we're on the sidelines, we're not getting good TV coverage, and you're not seeing it from the press box vantage. I always come down with the last 4 to 6 minutes left in the game, and there were just so many fans and people talking to me, and it was, I really hadn't seen anything like it again, because you don't normally have a field storming before a game ends. And so to make sense of all that, and it was going on the other side of the field, I want to watch it again. I do think that it was mismanaged by ASU. It's hard to say exactly how badly and precisely what ways. It ended up not costing them, and they were thrilled with the win. Dillingham talked about wearing the Sun Angel Collective sweatshirt and imploring more donations to try to maintain and improve their roster.
And Kenny Dillingham also said in his post-game press conference that as long as he's coaching at ASU, he doesn't believe he will ever coach another team that exceeds expectations as much as this team has. Chris, what do you make of that?
It's probably true. They're picked 16th in the Big 12. They probably shouldn't ever be picked 16th again in the Big 12 as long as he's coaching, or else he probably would have been fired by that point. And then not only to be picked 16th, but to be 9-2 after that. Hard to imagine that you ever do better when you're coming off of a 3-win season in your first year as a coach. And that's what makes the season so special. A lot of times we've been in the same position talking about the aftermath of games, and I've said there's something kind of special about this team, and you know when you see it, even if you can't necessarily describe why or how. It reminds me of 2007. ASU was a 10-win team, Dennis Erickson's first season. They lost to USC very late. Otherwise, they would have had a chance at the Rose Bowl. And now, of course, they're going to be playing in Tucson for an even bigger game than this game, right? And the other part of this is the contract extensions of Brian Ward and Marcus Arroyo is massive. They're, as we reported earlier today, they're both going to make more than $1 million a year on average over the next 3 years. And that's more than any coordinator has in ASU history. Mike Norvell made, I think, $950,000 in 2015, which was the last time that ASU was really well positioned like it is now. Excluding the NCAA sanctions and Herm Edwards losing all of his roster, but there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to continue their success, because retaining your coordinators and your head coach is the key to retaining Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, star players. Tyson had another big game. We don't even mention him because he does it so frequently that it's just almost normal at this point. They did a great job of scheming to get him the football pretty consistently. Xavier Guillory had a nice touchdown in the second half. That was a big play that we should have mentioned. 61 yards that proved to be the difference, I think, in the game. But yeah, the expectation from now on is going to be ASU being pretty good and never being terrible.
Well, like you said, we'll get to see this exact team in action one last time in the regular season next weekend as they take on the rivals down south. University of Arizona, the entire Sun Devil Source squad will be down in Tucson having you covered. Of course, we'll have you set all week as they get set to do so as well. And for the final time from Mountain America Stadium this season, Gabby Chernoff and Chris Cartman for Sun Devil Source. Thank you for watching.